Hello, I'm Sam from LCAProductions.
And I'm Taylor.
Welcome to Science, Psychology and Philosophy.
Today's topic of, I was about to say destruction, but conversation is belief versus fact. Or belief and fact.
Yeah, now depending on how long we talk for, this might be a two-part
episode. I don't know what part is in Spanish.
Like the first episode, episode 4 will be the first part, and episode 5 will be the second part. But it depends. So
or 4.5. We can 4.5 it.
Well, we could 4.5 it, yeah. But that would be fine. So yeah, today we are discussing belief and facts. So this first part, I wanted to talk about because a while ago, right, a few years ago now, I was having a think. I was having a think to myself, and I was thinking about the term "money makes the world go round," and the other term "money is the root of all evil."
It's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Because money could help you live, but as soon as you start to adore it and make your world revolve around it, you start to turn into a kind of an evil person.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, is money really, love for money really the root of evil? Does it make the world go round? And I was like, obviously in a literal sense, money doesn't make the world go round. It's gravity or time and space and stuff, but in the metaphorical sense. So I was thinking, is that when you break a problem down, when you break something down, do you get back to money? So say let's say for example,
what is the solution? Like going to money, or is it just a problem caused by money?
Yeah, does the reason for the problem come back to money? Like, why can't we build a massive town on the moon? Because of money. The technology is probably there, but you don't have enough money, right? So I was thinking about that.
Right, I'm going to try and think of a problem. There's gravel in my shoe.
Well, that doesn't come back down to money. But I was thinking,
buy new shoes.
Exactly. So I was thinking, not everything comes down to money, right?
Yeah.
And money can be broken down even further. So what I'm proposing is actually belief is the root of all evil, and belief makes the world go round. And belief is what makes things real and false and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah. How is it generating of the evilness?
Well, for this first episode, let's assume that there are beliefs and there are hard facts. Okay, let's just assume that, and you'll see why I'm saying this in part 2. But for now, let's just assume that there are beliefs such as I believe I deserve that pen, and then there are
here you go, here's your pen.
And then there are facts like that wall is painted yellow. Right. So let's just assume that for this first part. Right. So now what I'm saying is all arguments and conflicts come down to belief.
Yeah.
Okay. So think of an argument that you may have had, or someone has had in the history, or could possibly be a thing, and give it to me. I'll tell you how it comes down to belief.
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot now.
Just think of something. It could be anything.
So like what? Like an argument that I could have with someone?
Yeah, an argument or a discussion or something like that. Something that might get you fired, or like anything. Okay.
Hey pal, watch where you're going. You knocked into me. I dropped my Subway sandwich.
Okay, so that
other sandwich places are available.
That comes down to belief, and the reason for that conflict is many reasons actually. You believe that the sandwich had worth,
which is paid £6 for it,
and you believe that the £6 is something really important, and you believe that the sandwich is important. So that's the first one. B, you also believe that it was rude for that person to bump into you. Yeah. Which you've been taught, and you've chosen to believe that. Okay. So that argument comes down to belief.
Okay. Okay. How about this one?
Oh, okay.
No, I've got another one. Hey, how come you've taken 5 more waffles than I have? It's all about equality around these parts. I believe that everybody. Oh, see, I just said I believe.
There you go.
Everybody should have the same amount of waffles. I mean, I don't care what you're going to say about I believe that everyone should have equal things, because I'm no communist, but I do believe that people should have equality.
Well, you've answered your own question there, because one person believes that everyone should have the same amount, and the other person believes he or she should have 5 waffles.
You should write that. You should be. Everything should be equal.
Everything should be equal, yeah. But still, that conflict would come down to belief. Now, let's go back to the wealth for money is the root of all evil thing. Let's say someone comes to their boss and says, "Boss, I want to get £6 per hour rather than like 5." And the boss is like, "No, you're fired."
Oof.
Or maybe not, but maybe they have a discussion and the boss says no. That's again down to belief. That's not because of money.
Yeah.
That's because of belief. It's about money, but it comes down, when you break it down, to belief. That guy believes what he's doing is worth 6 hours. But the other guy, the boss, believes... No, £6. But the other guy, the boss, believes it's worth 5. So it comes down to belief, and...
I've got one.
Okay.
Sorry. I have one more argument for you. Jeremy, why don't you believe in anything? I don't know. It's just difficult for me to believe in anything.
Well, there you go. The first guy...
They're having an argument about why Jeremy can't believe in
the first guy
anything.
clearly believes that Jeremy needs to believe in something, and that it's an issue that Jeremy does not believe in something. That's what the first guy believes. So that's why it's causing a conflict.
You're good at this.
I've been thinking about this for a long time. Two kids in like primary school fighting over a crayon. One of them believes that it's their crayon, they want to use it to colour their picture in. The other one believes, no, it's yours, it's mine. So then they have an argument. So therefore, belief, when I say belief, I'm not talking
that's
about...
the thing, though. The nature of an argument is that two people or more people have conflicting ideas.
Exactly. And actually, I think we're not going to make this 2 parts, because it's a bit difficult to carry on talking about this without going into part 2, but what I was going to say in part 2 is, so say someone was to say, I believe that this phone is worth £200, and someone else will say, I believe this phone is worth £250, then that's a conflict because of belief. But also...
Well, that's the thing, it can have a factual, like...
You
can set values to it because you've got the cost of making it. You've got all the ingredients and the same ingredients, but
you've got all the
labour costs and all that. So there is like a set.
So you think, you'd think that. So you think, okay, maybe it's not belief. Maybe it comes down to belief, but the belief is based on facts, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember a few episodes ago? I think it was episode 2 or 3. I used the term false fact. Okay.
Fake news.
And I didn't want to go into it too much, but now we are.
Yeah.
So when someone says, I believe that when someone says a pound is worth a pound, fact. Or when someone says the colour yellow is yellow, fact. Or 100 grams is 100 grams, fact. Is that a fact, or is that actually a belief or a false fact?
Well, it's just not really, because that goes to the 1 equals 1. That's a pretty solid mathematical equation.
But that's just based off. That's something that humans have constructed.
Yeah, that's maths.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
They've constructed that. If someone came up to you and said, when you were firstborn, you're not firstborn, when you're a child, before you've had any other influence on the topic, and someone says, okay, 100 grams is a kilogram. It's not 1,000 grams, but you go, okay.
Thank you for clearing that up, I wasn't sure.
You go, okay, and then you believe that, right? So what's the difference between that and someone saying to you, 1,000 grams is a kilogram?
Because one's a lie, and the other one is... another one is just a system of kind of shortening. One is just kind of say, instead of writing 1,000 grams every time, you can just write 1 kilogram, and that will be shorter.
But what about the guy that first invented kilograms? Let's go back to the time when they were inventing the measurements. It probably didn't go exactly like this. I'm not a historian.
Robert Kilogram sat down and just was sick of writing the number 1,000.
What can I condense this into? So let's say this Robert Kilogram guy was like, actually, why don't I make it so 1,000 grams is a kilogram? And you want everyone, 1,000 grams is now a kilogram, and they all chose to believe that, and they believe that so much that they have.
Well, it's not a factual. It's just more of a shorthand. It's more of just like a shortcut.
Okay, let's use something that even more sounds like a fact.
Okay.
Yellow being the colour yellow.
Well, it goes back to that 1 equals 1 thing. It's
it just goes back to when humans coined it. Humans said, right, that waveform of light is now yellow, and they go fact, and they make it a fact, and we're all believing it. But we are believing it. But it's a false fact. It's not.
No, but
there are no such things.
You're thinking of the colour yellow as being a noun when it's more of just an adjective of describing something giving off this certain wavelength?
Okay, what about other human constructs such as concepts, such as the concept of wealth? I'm not talking in the terms of money. I'm saying imagine that money is not a thing. Everyone uses bartering, right? Yeah. Someone says, if you give me 2 hand-carved wooden dolls, I'll give you a bag of straw, right? Someone says, no, these 2 hand-carved dolls for 2 bags of straw. That's all. That argument, that conflict is because of belief, because there are no hardcore facts. And if someone says, then let's say someone chisels on stone, someone high in power, 2 hand-carved dolls equals 1 bag of wheat, okay? And then they go, well, there we go, that's a fact. And then they believe it, like you believe Father Christmas or religion, because it's been told to you that it's a fact. Then you believe it, like you believe yellow's the colour yellow, and a pound is worth a pound, and 100,000 grams is a kilogram. So they're all false facts, because the term, when someone hears fact, they go, oh, I'm not going to question that. But when they hear belief, they're like, oh, that means not entirely true, or that means unfalsifiable. But the same thing goes with facts, and that's what we're talking about today: fact versus belief.
Okay.
The idea that beliefs kind of make the whole world go round, and conflict comes down to them, and B, hardcore facts aren't actually hardcore facts; they're just belief. Yeah. So, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, because a fact, by definition, is like an opinion or a belief that everybody shares.
Yeah. That everyone agrees on,
it's not like
basically.
A fact is this 100% true thing. Because if everybody shared the same opinion of a colour of something, so everyone shared the same belief that... I'm just going to give an example of a colour. Like I said, this wind-up figurine of a dancing man that you have is blue. It gives off the blue wavelength of light. Everybody in the entire universe, you could go up to them and ask. And
unless they were colourblind or something, they would agree with you. They would say, yes, that's blue.
Yeah, and then that's what a fact is, because everybody shares the same.
But again, they're all believing. They don't realise it, but they're believing what that first guy, thousands of years ago, created. That first person created Robert Blue.
When we talk about inventions, sorry, that's really loud. Whenever we talk about inventions, I'm just gonna the dancing man. Whenever we come up with someone who gives an invention, it's Robert and then the thing.
So when Robert Blue said, right, you know what, this is this thing that I'm seeing in multiple places is blue, right? Everyone chose to believe that. It's not a hardcore thing that's like
but because
unfalsifiable.
Because everybody chose to believe it, that becomes a fact.
Oh, so you're saying that's what gives it.
That's what gives something a status
the power
of being fact.
So you're saying. So then the thing is, if I go back in time, find Robert Blue, and say, actually no, mate, I'm from the future. You want to call that red? That one's blue, and I point to something red. You'd go, oh, okay. And then I pop back out of existence.
And then the only thing that changed is...
And then I come back to my time, and now the red that I know is actually called...
Yeah, what would be called blue in this timeline is red in the one that you've changed the course into.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, we're not going to talk about time travel in this episode, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So that just goes to show that it's not something that's set in stone. It's not something that's unchangeable. So therefore it can't be a fact. It's got to be a belief. The definition of a fact that I've found is a thing that is known or proved to be true.
Yeah.
Right? Or information used as evidence or as part of a report or news article, used to refer to a particular situation under discussion. Well, that's not...
No, that's the fact, that, yeah.
So
a thing that is proved... What, like a thing...
A thing that's proved to be true, right? So you could say, okay, this is worth £10, and then someone... you get some validator to come in and measure it and stuff and do equations, and they're like, yeah, that's £10. That would then become a fact, right? But it's you might think, oh, that's a fact, that doesn't break down to belief. But the guy that's looking at it and then values it, based off of all the ingredients it's made. It's the worth of those ingredients that's the belief. And again, it goes back to how much is a pound worth. And you go, oh, it's a fact that a pound is worth a pound, but it's not. It's a belief from the person that first ever created it. And you know it's not a fact because the worth of a pound constantly changes how much a pound is worth.
Well, no. Well, that it will always change, like in exchange, like it will fluctuate. But if something is worth a pound, like a chocolate bar, and you pay £1 for it, that will always that exchange will always happen. If like the value of a pound changes and the chocolate bar is still worth £1 and you pay £1 for it, they're not going to go, oh, sorry, you're going to have to pay a bit more for that.
Well, no, they do actually have to change the prices of things like that. If the value of the pound was to increase,
but
then they would have to increase the amount of what it costs.
Yeah, but if something was worth £1, you could still pay £1 for it because the pound is worth £1.
Exactly, I see what you mean. Yeah, and but still, that's again, you're believing that a pound is worth a pound based off of what someone first said. There is a vault, I think it's in France, where they have these blocks of iron. I think 3 of them, and they all equal, I think, exactly 1 gram, right? And that is what calibrates all the... Well, people don't turn up with 1,000 scales that they've just produced and go, right, we're here to calibrate them. They base it off of other scales and stuff, and but it originally all comes down to these 3 blocks of iron, and they say that is how much a gram is worth. Fact. But if you were to somehow sneak in there and carve a chunk off of each block the exact same amount, the amount a gram is worth would change, and they would still call it a gram, and they wouldn't know because they're basing it off of these blocks, and they would go, right, these blocks all equal a gram. So that they would measure the block, and they wouldn't go, oh, it's lighter. No, they'd go, that's a gram, because they don't measure the blocks, because the blocks create the measure.
I don't think that would have much impact in like society though, because that might make like something worth a ton just be like a bit less, but then
a bit lighter.
That would equivalent to that, like would become the new normal.
Exactly.
And no one would notice. It's just that, oh, this thing is worth like this heavy.
But well, actually,
it's
where
not like
where it would be noticed is in things such as chemistry and science. So you change the value of a gram, right, and no one realizes. And let's say,
but you'd still put the same amount in physically, but it's labelled something differently.
Well, no. Say you halved these iron blocks. So now you halve these iron blocks, right? And they say, right, this is all equal to a gram, and they don't realise that you've halved it. So actually, in your terms, everyone's measuring half a gram now. And let's say all the scales somehow simultaneously sync, even though that's not a real thing. So someone who's doing like cooking or something, they know that it's 500 grams of flour and 1 egg. Let's say they're not weighing the egg, right? So they put the bowl on their scales and they're tipping the flour in, and what normally would be 500 grams, they actually have to double the volume of flour to make the scales go up to 500.
Well, no, because
if say...
Oh, you're saying...
Do you get what I mean? If let's say this isn't true...
You did this all sneakily.
Yeah, let's say, for example...
In society, it's still... 500 grams is still worth 500 grams.
Yeah.
But
they don't...
Actually, it's now... 250
it's actually
grams,
half that, yeah.
It's 500 grams.
And because you're not changing... Because a gram isn't some universal law...
Yeah.
Like electrons and stuff like that... when you change it, no one's going to know, and the volume of flour that previously weighed 50 grams would be more than that, and they're going to make their cake and it's not going to work, and they're going to be like, why isn't this working? It worked before. So now let's talk about something that is even more of a hardcore fact. Let's talk about electrons and protons and things that we've seen and stuff like that, and we think they're facts, right? But are they really?
I mean, I've never seen an electron. No, I don't know.
Because again, although they're a physical thing, the name and the concept is still a human construct. So therefore, the name and concept of electrons, protons, neutrons, and all the molecules is a human construct. So therefore, that's not a fact. Because
what? Sorry.
Like the name of an electron, and the concept of electrons having being negative and stuff like that. All of that is construct.
The whole idea of a name is just to give something a label, so that you
not
don't
just
have
a name,
to describe it
the
by
way it
many
works
sentences.
as well. The way it works is all created by humans.
If you can look at it and see that it works a certain way.
Yeah, but you say, all right, this electron has a negative charge. It orbits the nucleus, and
and you can observe it and say that.
Yeah, but all the stuff you're saying is again human construct. The human construct of orbiting and things like that.
It's not a human construct. Look, you see something go around another thing, and they've just given it a word, so that you don't have to say, "Oh, it's going around another thing." You don't have to describe it in many sentences. They've given it a word, so that you can use one word to describe this whole thing that's going on. So when they say orbiting, they can either say that, or they can say it's going around this small circle is going around the bigger clump of circles, or they could say the electron is revolving or orbiting around the nucleus. They could just it's one. But
again, we're going back to the question that we had in episode 2, I think, of Is all of that you just described? Yes, it's all happening, but is it just happening? Like we're just seeing it happen, right? If we weren't there, if humans had never existed, or no living thing was in the universe, would all the planets still be orbiting? And obviously, the whole construct of orbiting and all these words wouldn't be true. So ignore that for a second. But would all of the laws of physics still apply? Is that a fact? Humans have a tendency to think they're not just the centre of the universe, but also have a tendency to think that all the laws that they are creating are facts. They think, right, because I'm looking at this through this microscope at this thing that is really small, it is an atom, that is a fact. It is a fact that everything is made out of these. We don't know that for sure. That's just our perception.
What?
Right? We think that's true. But that's just our perception of something.
I suppose,
for all we know,
if there was a new mutated species of humans that saw in infrared, the fact for them would look different because they're looking at it in infrared.
Not even that. For all we know, atoms and all that stuff might not exist at all. That might just be how we perceive something that's completely different, or maybe that's just how we perceive small things. Another race of humans that get a mutation might come along, and instead of seeing atoms, they might see something completely different. They might see something completely different that they not just name completely different,
well, I suppose
might be completely different. The laws of physics, we think the laws of physics are hardcore true facts, right? We think that, but that's all just based off of our perception and the machinery's perception and stuff like that.
That makes sense, though.
It makes sense,
doesn't it? Because we're not going to write textbooks full of facts for dolphins.
Yeah, we're not.
And what dolphins see and everything.
So really, the definition of a fact should not be. I mean, that is true. Yes, something that we believe to be true, but it should also be something that humans have perceived or created and decided that is the way that concept works, and it should not change. That's what a fact is. It's basically something that humans have gone, right, that's set in stone, don't need to change that then, job done.
But then as soon as that fact has been proven wrong, then they'll change it.
Well, then it was never a fact in the first place.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's the thing with a fact, because facts are so based off of our decisions, they can be fluid and they can sometimes be wrong and they can change.
Just change it and then.
Say, for example, we're like, it's a fact that these Stone Age people lived in this era, right? And then 10 years later, someone digs up some bone or something, they put it through the carbon data, and they're like, oh, snap, we were completely wrong. That just shows that fact was clearly not a hardcore thing. Everyone was believing it, even though it was not true. And that's the thing. We create facts, but they're not like some driving force of the universe. The universe isn't like, atoms are a thing, fact. Humans like atoms are a thing, fact. But we don't know whether they are or not. They might. It's the same argument like reality is a thing, fact. I mean, that might not be true at all. But the question isn't, is this real or not? The question is rather, Well, there is no question. The question is rather, we believe it.
Yeah.
Fact. That's it. That's what makes facts such a thing, and that's why they're so strong and powerful.
But is that a fact, or is that just your opinion, Sam? Oh, by the way, I do want to take back the fact of the thing that I said, the fact of the thing that I said, that facts are just beliefs that like everybody share, because to me, I'm gonna start talking about the flat Earth thing.
Oh yeah.
So this could start up. I don't know how you feel about it, but I do think that you think it's round.
Well, we'll do an episode on that, but say what you're gonna say.
Because I think it's pretty obvious that the Earth is round, but there are people that have the belief that it isn't.
Exactly.
That it's flat. There's people that think it's a torus, or like a donut shape. There's people that think we're on a sphere, but the entire sphere is covered in ice, and there's a little hole bored in it where there's like a little tiny hole where the Earth is flat and it's a little disc on this massive ball of ice. There's people that believe that. So there is now. It's not a fact that the Earth is round, according to my previous sentence, like my previous statement.
Well, if people are struggling to get their head around this, imagine this, right? So if I was to say to you, "Is Santa Claus real?" Right? You might say yes, or you might say no. Right? But then I'd say prove it, and you wouldn't be able to. So that therefore makes the "is Santa Claus real" thing a belief, because it's unfalsifiable either way. You can't prove he is a thing, you can't prove he isn't, therefore it's a belief. Same with God, same with
the President of
things
the United States.
Some things like that. They can't be proven either way, so they're a belief, right? But then if I was to say to you, prove that this £1 is worth £1, how would you be able to prove that?
Yeah, I'd go exchange a metal disc for a £1 chocolate bar. It just goes back to that, really.
Well, if I was to say, you can't prove something. You can't prove £1 is £1 by saying, that's worth £1. That just loops back. So
true.
If you can't prove that. If I was to say prove that this thing is yellow, would you be able to? You could ask everyone in the world. You could ask them, "Is this yellow?" And they're just saying it's yellow. Yes.
I might lack the equipment to be able to show you, but
Well, even if you get a machine and you point some laser gun at it and it pops up saying yellow, that machine was created by a human who programmed it to make it
to show like wavelengths bouncing off of, because that's how color works or vision works. But you can't light bouncing off. You can't prove
something. You can't prove it's yellow by getting something else to just say it's yellow, because again that's based off of, if I was to say to the ray gun, prove that this thing is yellow, they can't just go, well, it's yellow. Done.
You're saying you can't prove that this thing is this thing, but some things don't really need proving. I mean, I guess that's just like trying to
that's trying to avoid
shoo away the whole thing. But it's,
if I was to say to you, prove that 1 foot is equal to like 1 foot, or prove one. Let's stick with the grams.
Yeah.
Prove 1 gram is equal to 1 gram. You could take me to the vault and you could say, these are all worth a gram, and I'd just say prove it. And you can't. There's no universal law that you can like whip out the book of universal law and flip to page 1000 and say, see here it says a gram.
Right.
So there is no universal law that says 1 gram is equal to a gram, because a gram again is a human construct, same as a pound.
Well, that's the thing.
Same
it's
as
just a
atoms
label
and everything like that.
It's a label that we've given a mass.
But even the label, the thing that we've,
so that it's convenient for us to measure and compare. And
so, like, if I was to say to you, let's go beyond the gram. If I was to say, prove that weight is a thing. Dropping something on the floor wouldn't prove that weight is a thing, or putting something on scales wouldn't prove that weight is a thing, because you're using a device. It's like when someone says to you, define this word, and you use that word in the definition. It's like that. If someone says to you, prove this is a thing, and you use the thing to prove it, then it's not technically proving it. If someone says, like, I want you to define the word coincidentally, right? And you'd go, okay, coincidentally is when something is a coincidence. You're not defining, maybe you're defining the word coincidentally, but you're not defining what a coincidence is. If you say define what a coincidence is. And you say a coincidence is when
something happens
coincidentally. You're not defining the word coincidence. If you say,
sure,
if someone says to you, prove what weight is, and you say, well, weight is weight. There's not much more that you can say. Well, weight is like...
that's defining the word weight. If you're saying prove weight as a thing, and you use weight in the proving, the action, you're proving it's a thing by you're watching it in action. So if you do drop something there,
rather than talking about the word, let's say
you're proving the concept or the idea of weight, because it's there, it's happening in action. You can see it's a thing because it's happening.
Well, let's break it down again then. And you say, well, weight's a thing, it's the centre of gravity of all the mass. And I go, okay, prove that gravity and mass are a thing without referring to weight and all the previous steps behind it. And you say, well, gravity's a thing because of space and time and stuff like that. And you say, mass is a thing because all atoms have a weight. And I'm like, oh, you can't use weight.
Gravity is because the Earth is spinning, and it's spinning so that everything, like centrifuges, when it spins,
and everything comes to the centre.
All the apps where it works, and then it's so large that things are attracted to it.
Well, then I'd say, okay, well, prove that things are attracted to the Earth, because that's like, but prove why things are attracted to the Earth. If you get what I mean, prove the concept of things being attracted to the Earth, and prove the concept of gravity and mass.
That just comes down to it being difficult. you can't have large.
You could draw out a huge equation that goes across 3 blackboards to prove why mass and gravity are a thing, and then I could just look at that and go, okay, we'll prove that's true, and you could run me through all the equations. But again, you're not proving it. Eventually, if you keep on breaking it down, mass and gravity, and you break that down into, I don't know, whatever the equations are and the forces of attraction and atoms and stuff, and you keep on breaking it down, you're going to get to a point where it is just something that humans have given a concept to. If it wasn't for humans, things would still, well, we assume things would still react in the same way, atoms would still have electrons and a nucleus and stuff. We assume that if humans weren't there. But still, we don't know that for sure, going back to episode 2, but also humans did create not just the concept and the name, but also in a way humans kind of created the way it all works. Like the way we say they're the laws of the universe, but they're not. They're the laws of the human universe or something. If we could call it that. We should name the laws of the universe the laws of the human universe, because it is the laws that we've created. We're assuming, and we're doing the thing. We're doing the thing that humans do all the time, and assuming we're the centre of the universe and what we say goes. But we can't prove that. We can't prove these air quotations facts. I said air quotations because you can't see me, obviously.
That's the thing though, because humans explain things in a way and
creates them basically.
Well, no, because they see something's happening and they go, how can we
they see something happening and they go, that must be real. That must be the thing that I'm seeing must be a fact because I'm seeing it, so it must be real. Or I'm feeling it, so it must be real. But going back to episode 2, you don't know that for sure, but also the fact that but you're seeing it and you looking at it and stuff like that. That is all stuff you're choosing to believe. You're choosing to believe you're choosing to believe that what you see and perceive is real.
They say don't believe everything you see, but then that's like if you're getting tricked into doing something, then that it's a fact that the guy is doing some hand stuff. To hide your coin,
Exactly. So what I'm basically saying is everything comes down to belief. There is no such thing as a fact. You are choosing to believe that what you're seeing is real. Okay. Now, obviously, this isn't like the Matrix or something. If you go, no, I don't believe that's real, and you 100% believe it, it's not going to disappear, and you're going to wake up. Well,
I do believe in fairies.
But actually, getting a tad religious here, we try not to, but getting a tad. In the Bible, Jesus actually said that if you have forgiven all your sins, that's kind of difficult to do, but if you have, and you do 100% believe, you can move a mountain with your mind, basically, he said, right? Now, obviously, that's extremely hard to do because you can't remember all your sins, and also it's extremely hard to 100% believe in something for humans because there's always a voice of reason in their mind that's based on your previous history, what you've seen and heard, and the things you've read and stuff like that. And so it's hard to 100% believe something, right? So if you do try really hard to 100% believe that what you're seeing is not real, you won't ever be able to reach 100% because parts of your brain will tell you, no, it is real, it is real, it is real, it is real, right? So, as I was saying, although we don't realise it, we are believing that what we see, what we smell, what we touch, what we hear, we are believing that that is real. Even though we don't realise it, we go, oh yeah, it's a fact that there is a desk in front of me. It's a fact that the sky is blue. It's a fact that I'm breathing oxygen, or it's a fact that I'm breathing. And no matter how much you break it down, you could say, oh, it's a fact that an atom is an atom. It's a fact that the yellow is yellow. And then you could break that down and say it's a fact that light is waves. And you could break that down and say it's a fact that electrons shift in and out between waves and particles, and you can keep on breaking it down. No matter how small you're going to get, it's still something that you're choosing to believe.
Yeah.
So you could say, oh, atoms, molecules, all that sort of stuff, they're a fact. I can see it, and even if I couldn't see it, they're still a thing. But no, you're just believing that. No matter how hard you try, you're believing you're believing everything. Because you could, if you really wanted to, you could just go, no, I don't believe that atoms are a real thing. Yes, I can see them, and yes, we can monitor them, but no, I don't believe they're a thing. And people would think you're stupid, but to be honest, you're kind of correct.
Well, just because you believe in something doesn't mean that it's... No, I mean, doesn't mean that the fact isn't a fact. Like, this little draw thing here, you can't see it, viewers at home, or listeners, I guess.
Oh.
But, so like, I could say, if you leave this dog barking in, I could choose to believe that it's not happening. But it doesn't change the fact that it did happen.
I mean,
like, just because I don't believe
it, no one can prove to you that it happened.
We're recording it. You can play it back to me.
Yeah, but then you could say, no, I don't believe that.
It's an audio glitch.
I don't believe that the recording is actually a real thing. I don't believe that audio and that sound waves and stuff is a real thing.
You can slap me across the face and call me an idiot because
everyone thinks that things can be broken down into hardcore facts, like atoms, or even smaller than atoms. They're like, oh, no matter how many times you break it down, eventually it's going to be a fact. And you're like, no, it's still something that you're believing. Going back to the previous episode 3, when we did the simulation argument, right? So imagine everyone's in a simulation and someone says, no, I don't believe any of this is real. Obviously, they would be correct, right? Because none of it is real. Okay? But that then begs the question, well, if something is real, what makes it real? You perceiving it? Because you can perceive it in a simulation.
Yeah.
And if it being made out of atoms and stuff like that, well, you could make all of that in a simulation as well. And although they're code, they're still atoms if they react in the same way and stuff like that. So it's like, you know how there are certain rules for something to be alive, right? Say you create...
Oh, what was it? Vander Trump.
Oh, yeah. Say you create a robot.
Yeah.
Extremely advanced, and it has... it can do everything a human can do, and acts exactly the same way as a human. Would it be alive? You go, oh no, obviously it's a robot. But it's following all the, air quotes, facts that you've made that make something alive. And you go, oh, well, it doesn't have a soul, you might say. And you go, well, a soul isn't a fact, a soul is a belief.
Yeah.
So therefore you're choosing to believe that a soul is a thing, and you're choosing to believe that if something has a soul, it's alive, and therefore you're choosing that this robot isn't alive because it doesn't have a soul. All based on belief. So it goes back down to you can believe that something is not real, and no one can prove you wrong. If you say, oh, I want you to prove to me that this entire universe isn't real.
I want to just...
How?
I just want to say, by the way, Mrs. Vander Tramp is a way to to memorize all of the.
Well,
no,
No. Is it Miss Van? No, that's the French thing, isn't it?
I was going to say this is the way of remembering some French verbs.
Yeah, Miss Van der Tramp. What is the thing? Because it's all the things that somebody needs to do to be alive is like movement, reproduction, defecation,
or
waste. It needs to
breathe,
or consume stuff to make energy.
Yeah,
and
you could make a robot to do all of that, but I think.
But then it has to, for a robot to be artificial intelligence like a human, it has to pass that special test, doesn't it?
What was it called?
I can't remember. But
the Seinfeld test.
I don't think it's that. Yeah. But anyway, so if someone was to say to you, I don't believe that reality is a thing, and they could go, well, that's stupid. Reality is obviously a thing. It's real. It's a fact.
I can prove to you that reality is a thing.
How?
Right now. Alexa, is reality?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Well, never mind.
Oh, there you go. Alexa knows. She's
she doesn't know. She literally just
says, I don't know if reality is a thing. But that's the thing. You can't prove.
Not even Alexa can.
You can't prove that facts are a thing because. No, not fact. Well, you can't prove facts are a thing. You can't prove that reality is a thing. So, someone's sitting there trying to break it down and go, okay, prove. Are electrons a fact? And they're like, no. And they're like, okay, are quarks a thing? And you're like, no. And they're like, okay, well, is reality a thing? And you go, no, it might not be. You can't prove it. It's unfalsifiable. I mean, you could say, I'm going to prove reality is a thing. Like, look around you. And you can go, well, no, that's not proving it. Yeah. That's like saying, I'm going to prove God is a thing by, I don't know, saying something like you can't prove it. It's unfalsifiable.
You can. It's like going back to that thing.
You can't prove or disprove it. You can't disprove reality is a thing. You can't.
Because it's going back to, like, prove to me what does a coincidence mean? You can say, coincidence is something happening coincidentally, or you can show them a coincidence happening. Or you can say, look, wait until it happens and I'll tell you what a coincidence is. And then they go, oh, this thing happened, and then this thing happened at the same time, and you go, see, that's a coincidence.
Yeah, you can define.
I've used the word coincidence to explain it, but it's because the coincidence has happened, and I'm showing it in action. That's what's describing it. So if I can, it's like I can say, prove to me that gravity is a thing, and then I show you, this helium balloon's going up because it's lighter than this, or its weight. This helium is going up because it's lighter than air, and this thing is falling to the ground because it's more dense than air.
That's what I'm talking about when I say breaking it down. You keep on cracking deeper and deeper, and you go, okay, so you think that's a thing. What about the thing that the words that you just used and the terms gravity and about these things, and you break it down. Eventually the ultimate question that it all comes back to is everything comes back to, is it real? Like, none of this matters if reality isn't a thing. Quarks, electrons, atoms, gravity, weight, grams, kilograms, going all the way up the scale from the bottom to the top. None of that matters if you can't prove that reality is real. Then that doesn't matter. You could try and prove you could prove your, like, with massive equations and electrons, and you could show someone,
I suppose,
kilograms and how 1,000 kilograms is worth a gram, and you could show them how a gram is a thing because of weight, and you could show them how weight is a thing because of gravity and mass, and you could show them how they're a thing because of electrons, and you could show them how electrons are a thing because of quarks, etc. But then in the end, none of that's going to make sense if you can't prove that it's all real. You can't prove reality is real. Otherwise, all of them, air quote, facts aren't facts. They're all things that you're choosing to believe. It's like an onion, right? Imagine it like an onion. Each layer is another, air quote, fact, right? That you're breaking through, and you go, right, that's not a fact, rip that off. And you get to the next one, you go, right, the next one would be like, the outside of the onion would be kilograms. And someone would say, right, 1,000 kilograms is equal to a gram. And then you say, prove it. And they're like, well, I can't really, rip that layer off. You get to the idea of a gram, and you say, prove it. And they're like, well, it's based on weight, isn't it? Okay, rip that layer off, prove weight. And they're like, well, it's based on mass and gravity, gravity, isn't it? You're like, well, prove they're a thing. Okay, rip that layer off. And they say, well, gravity's a thing because of space and time, and mass is a thing because of atoms and electrons. You're like, well, okay, prove they're all real. Rip that layer off. And then you're like, well, electrons and atoms are a thing because of quarks and the way they're arranged. Rip that layer off. And you keep going. And eventually,
you're just left with smelly onion hands.
Yeah. And your eyes might sting. But,
no, I'm kidding.
This might keep on going and going. We don't know what makes up a quark and all this stuff. It's like, eventually it gets like crazy sciencey stuff, like energy and all that sort of stuff. But then, eventually you get to a point where like, okay, now prove that this entire onion is real. And
can't anymore, you've just peeled all the layers away.
And you can't really prove, anything is real. You can't prove it. You can't, it's I really like that word, unfalsifiable, but it's not just that you can't prove it's real, you can't prove it's not real. Same with Father Christmas, same with gods and religion. You can't prove that reality is real, nor can you prove that it's not real. You can't say to someone, boom, reality is not real, and they just wake up in the Matrix. That doesn't work. Yeah. You can't do that.
What if I just disappeared after you said that?
Okay, guys, so we're going to have to end the podcast here. Taylor's just woken up from the Matrix. Everything is a lie. Goodbye. Right. No, so you can't... Not only can you not prove reality is real, no matter how many equations you draw, no matter how many massive microscopes you use that zoom really far in or really far out, and how many books you write, you can't prove it's real because everything that you're doing is contained inside it. Right.
Sure.
It's like trying to, I don't know, take a picture when you're inside the picture. I mean, that's a selfie, but you get what I mean. You can't prove something is real when the stuff you're using is inside that thing. Like as I was saying with the definition, you can't define something using itself. Like what you said when you said, "Oh, well, I'll show them what a coincidence is." Yeah. Then again, you're using a coincidence to define a coincidence. So you can't use something to prove itself. So you can't say reality's real because look around you, or reality's real because of this equation, or reality's real because of these electron microscopes and these microscopes that see the entire universe. You can't use that because that's contained inside reality. At the same time, unless you manage to pop someone out of existence, you can't prove that reality isn't real. So therefore, reality isn't a fact, it's a belief. As I said earlier, a belief is something that can't be proven or disproven. A fact is something that can be proven and then later on disproven maybe. But you can't prove it. So if we change the definition of a fact to let's make two things. We're going to make fact A and fact B. Fact A is going to be something that is inevitably always true, can't be disproven, and never wavers. And then fact B is going to be something that everyone believes to be true, but humans have created it, and everyone's believing in it. Right? Fact A and fact B. Keep that in your mind. So now someone says to you, "Is reality real? Is reality a fact?" And then someone says, "Well, reality is a fact B, but it's not a fact A." Because you can't prove or disprove it, and therefore it's a belief rather than a fact. Because, well, if you're using fact in the sense that it's something everyone is believing, then there you go. You're therefore saying a fact is a belief. If you say, a fact is something everyone believes to be true, therefore all facts are beliefs. You've instantly disproven the point.
I have a fact, 100% pure fact right here.
Yeah.
That... Oh, wait, I need to... Hold on. It's basically what you were saying this entire time.
Yeah.
That nothing can be proven or disproven. Can you prove or disprove that?
Exactly.
So that's... But that's
is that
one
even
fact.
A fact?
Well, yeah, because...
Is that... Well, again, you don't know, because for all you know, reality could be a hardcore fact and maybe could be proven, and therefore the statement reality can't be proven or disproven would be wrong.
Yeah. And so with this, everything you were just
and everything saying. We just... So if you're watching this in the future and someone has somehow proved reality to be real from outside of reality, then just ignore everything we've been saying. Congratulations, well done.
What are you still doing on YouTube?
How are you still on? Why aren't you outside of reality?
Didn't
doing
know
outside
archive.com went that far back.
Are you doing like? Why aren't you going to the outer reality pub?
Yeah.
And just having fun with like 4-dimensional beings.
Outer reality drinks with your outer reality friends.
Yeah, with your outer reality 4-dimensional pet dog. Yeah. But anyway, I think we'll round this episode up here. Okay. So we were going to make it 2 parts, but we didn't really need to because they both rolled into one. So fact versus belief. Is anything actually a fact? Well, if you're using facts in the term that there's something everyone chooses to believe, then yes, facts are a thing. But if you're using facts in the sense that facts are something that can be proven, then no, nothing is a fact because you can't prove anything. You might think you're proving it, but in the greater scheme of things, you can't prove it because it all comes down to proving reality. You say, prove to me that 1 + 1 = 1, and then you could go through the whole idea of maths.
1 + 1 = 2, Sam. Hate to break it to you. Spoiler alert, you said 1 + 1 = 1.
It does not. Well, say someone says to you, prove 1 + 1 = 2, and they take you back in time to when maths was first created and everything, and they say, here's your proof.
Now hang on, was maths created or discovered?
That's a
topic for another episode.
Yeah. So
segue, or what is it? Segue. It's foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Yeah.
There you go.
So,
but now it's not foreshadowing.
To conclude.
Wait, no, hang on. I've got a fact for you. You're stupid.
To conclude, fact versus belief. Is anything a fact? In the sense that it can be proven, no. In the sense that multiple people believe it, yes. There are facts. So, but everything comes down to belief is the root of all evil. Everything comes down to belief, all arguments, and B, everything comes down to prove the fact that you can't even prove reality is real. So therefore, everything underneath reality, which is everything in the hierarchy, everything that comes under the giant desktop folder of reality, you can't prove that's real. Therefore, you can't prove anything is real. You can't prove that electrons are made up of quarks. You can't prove that atoms are contain electrons. You can't prove that mass is a thing. You can't prove that grams are a thing. And yet, finally, you cannot prove kilograms are a thing.
Do you know what I want to make happen?
What?
Is that we go to some like really prestigious university
and we go, kilograms aren't a thing.
You basically say that entire we get a science professor there to talk us through like basically what you just said, because I can't remember that far back. It was like 3 seconds ago, dude. I can't remember. But like go through like it's like something in space, or like, just give us a really like difficult physics thing and explain it to us, and then I just want you to go. Just you still haven't proved it.
You haven't proven it.
Then just get that like science.
You just walk into
break
some
that
top university and go, everyone, nothing is real.
Yeah.
Or stop just what you're doing. Kilograms aren't a thing.
No, I just like want you to have a one-on-one with a science professor and just really irritate him and break him down.
Okay, well prove that's a thing. Yeah. Okay, well the thing you just said, prove that. Okay, well the thing you just said, prove that. Oh, you can't.
Well, no. So like, can you prove to me about electrons? And you go, okay, well I've got an electron microscope. And then you look at it, it's like, oh, that's just based on the machine's perception.
Yeah. Yeah,
you could just be showing me like a screensaver right now.
Say, excuse me, sir. Can you get your science team together and just quickly prove to me that reality is real? And they just go, I don't think we can do that.
They just all quit. They quit their jobs and then their lives fall apart.
What have you just said? Oh, it's not possible. No, everything we've done is fake. Everything is false. Nothing can be proven. So yeah, as I was saying, I think that's the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Kilograms aren't a thing, people. Just remember that.
I'm gonna go home and cry.
I'm gonna go home.
My entire life is.
I'm gonna go home, smash the scales.
I've been
burn everything down. It's all fake.
I've been lied to my entire life.
I'm not.
That's
saying,
a fact. That's a fact that I've been lied to my entire goddamn life.
Well, we're not saying that things aren't real. We're just saying you can't prove they're real.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm just gonna. Now we can just
thereby saying
Control Alt Delete on the simulation, and we can all wake up in the Matrix. Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching this episode.
It's a fact that you viewers are just fantastic. It's a fact that I love you, and it's a fact that you're going to like and subscribe, or I'll find you.
Well, obviously none of it's a fact.
I'll find you and slap you around the back.
Kilograms aren't real, people. These answers are 50% our opinion and 50% science, psychology and philosophy facts.
So please take them with a pinch of salt.
And maybe try to come up with your own answers.
We'd love to hear what you think, so get in touch.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment below.
If you're watching this on Twitter, send one of us a message either at Productions LCA or Inkydoodle4.
Or if you're watching on the LCAProductions website, go to the contact page to send us an email.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.